How's it going, everyone? It's Monday, May 10th, and you're tuning in to 2.5 Hoopers, Luka Doncic's mom's favorite basketball podcast. Happy belated Mother's Day. I'm your host, Jacob Lehman. With me, I have Josh Rhodes.
That was a good one. Shout out the mothers.
And George Martin.
Hello.
We got a pretty good show. Recap list of days of ball. Very busy weekend. Lived with the hype that we kind of brought onto it last podcast. George's halftime, which is gets shorter and sweeter by the second. He refuses to do any kind of research besides Woj tweets. And then enough, we're going to give some hot takes, I think. I don't know how hot it can really get. If you've seen George's Twitter, it's kind of just a lot of obvious things. But
someone tweeted at me that he's never seen an insightful take from me, and it's all obvious and bland, so that's nice.
And I completely agree.
George is like Magic Johnson without the super stellar career and just the Twitter account.
You get a few thousand likes on one tweet, and they're already hating.
Is he just like Magic besides that, or are there other differences?
What are
you talking about, big fella?
To be disclosed there.
All right, well, let's get right into it. Like I said, if you like what you can, make sure to follow us at THHoopers, Instagram and Twitter. And then I did promise Chris Wakeham I would say this. Pickleball is the most growing sport in the whole world right now. Apparently, it's growing. He told me to say it. I owed him a shout out. So Chris Wakeham.
Chris Wakeham.
Cricket? You know how to play cricket, George?
No, not at all.
No one knows how to play cricket, I don't think, besides Lee Ellis of No Dunks. But Friday, May 7th, like I said, busy day. Bulls beat the Celtics 121-99. Not a game for the Celtics, but hey, Kemba Walker continues his tear. Hornets beat the Magic 122-112. Heat beat the Timberwolves 121-112. Bucks beat the Rockets 141-133. Mavs beat the Cavs 110-90. Spurs beat the Kings 130-94. And the Blazers beat the Lakers 106-101. We're going to cover Lakers a little bit more towards the end of it, but George, just quick thoughts from this one?
Yeah, Blazers game, first and foremost, Anthony Davis looked like his old self, especially there at the end. Getting back on defense quickly, getting a lot of blocks, just being hectic on that end. Dame was incredible for Portland yet again. Basically the sole reason they won that game. I think he had like 38
on 18 shots.
Yeah, that game was important for both teams. Portland gets the tiebreaker, which doesn't effectively make them the 6th seed out of the play-in, but it'll help them a lot. But overall, Lakers side, yeah, just good to see AD looking like his old self, and then that continued in the next game in Portland. Huge win for them. Maybe keeps them out of the play-in, which they should want. So good for them.
As a Laker fan, you scared of the play-in?
I'm scared of the notion that we have to face Steph Curry in a single elimination game.
We would face him, and then if we lose that one, we play either Memphis or the Spurs.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'd rather be the 7th seed, honestly, right now. But you wouldn't?
You want to play Phoenix instead of Utah?
I think I'd play Phoenix instead of Utah.
I would agree there.
But anyways, that's besides the point. Yeah, I mean, seeing what I've seen lately, and if we get a healthy Bron, I'm not scared. But just the notion of being like in single elimination games does scare me a little bit, because if you go completely cold and have an off game, you're out there in 2 games. But with how the team's been looking, and if we can get Bron back and healthy, I'm not worried.
Yeah, I think. I mean, Lakers get fired up. They come out. They probably win that first game, I would think. But
take care of business and
but yeah, Portland. I don't know if we'll get too much to them the rest of the pod, so I want to mention this now. 7-3 in their last 10. They came alive. There's kind of a fire lit under them, and they realized they need to get out of this playing spot. And Mavs and Blazers are out of the playing spot, and now Lakers sit there pretty.
I think both those teams realized where they were in the standings, and they finally realized, oh, hey, we can, pass up the Lakers and not be in the play-in. So good for them for taking advantage of that. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll get to more Lakers stuff later, and Andre Drummond slander later. But
that's for you.
First game was Georgia's look-ahead. Sixers beat the Pelicans 109-107. Jackson Hayes was the leading scorer for the Pelicans. I don't think he scored in the second half. George sent me
maybe 2 points after I texted
George sent me and Josh, me and Josh are on the Embiid best center in the league train. George's on the Jokic best center in the league train. Me and Josh agree that Jokic is higher in the MVP rankings, but we like Embiid better as just a player because of both sides of the ball. And George was saying, why is Embiid letting him happen this? They were like, both 17 at the half or whatever. Embiid finishes with 37 and 13.
2 points after.
Yeah, and then he kind of shut Jackson Hayes down. This game really shouldn't have been as close as it was. No Zion here or Ingram, But Pelicans have a decent weekend. They lose this one, win on Sunday against the Hornets. So Pelicans still fighting for a play-in here, so I'll let you take this one, George, just because, one, your bold take is Pelicans make the playoffs, or the play-in, and two is your look ahead.
Yeah, they didn't shoot great at all from 3, 25%. But what I noticed the most was their young guys off the bench, Jackson Hayes, Kyra Lewis Jr., I think that's how you say it. Even Wendy and Gabriel gave them some good production. I've liked what I've seen out of Lewis primarily, because I kind of like him and Alexander Walker, who I don't think played in this game. He did play in the next one. I do like what I've seen out of them, potentially pairing them with Lonzo and getting Bledsoe out of there. But yeah, Hayes has looked, a lot more competent. Early on in the year, he wasn't even looking like he could be a bench guy. But overall, yeah, they went on an incredible run in the third, and that prompted Philly to, actually start trying in the fourth. They got away with it. Embiid was incredible, 37 and 13. Simmons, a little bit lackluster, but he filled out the stat sheet with 10 and 9 assists and rebounds, respectively. Good overall game there. They, what, Josh? What are you looking at? What are you looking at me for?
Keep going.
They closed down the game well in the clutch, which is most important for them. So overall, fine win for Philly.
Yeah, it was nice to see the Pelicans. They lose another close game, and like we said, that's been a problem with them as a young team. But even though Philly wasn't really trying, it's still a tough defense to score on just because of their length. Pause. So, I mean, it was nice to see Lonzo Ball. I mean, 6 for 18, but you watch the game, he was really he was running 80% of the offense for them. He was kind of the sole thing they're going through. And yeah, I just mentioned again, Pelicans missing Steven Adams, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, and Nickeil Alexander Walker. It was a big piece. So, yeah, I mean, good fight for the Pelicans. But, Josh, anything else to add here?
Not really. I guess it just kind of dawned on me because George says like Ben Simmons lackluster stats, even though he's the Draymond Green praiser for filling the stat sheet. So I guess it's just dependent on expectations. I think Simmons had another great defensive player of the year game. Tobias Harris he did not play good the whole game, and then he hit the game winner, or the go-ahead shot, and the whole love-hate thing. But yeah, I mean, probably shouldn't have been as close as it was, as you said, but Philly got it done, so no big deal.
Cool. Moving on, Jazz Nuggets, really good game. I feel like this was one of our look aheads, but if not, I don't blame us because there's a lot of games.
Josh,
was it mine?
I thought it was Josh's.
No, mine was the New York Knicks weekend. We talked about this game after we finished recording just because we couldn't – there were so many good games we couldn't get to it.
So this one, yeah, we said very good one. Jazz beat them 127-120. I always get them mixed up. Bojan Bogdanovic.
Bojan, yeah.
Bojan for the Jazz scored 48. And it was everywhere. He went back to that because ever since I said it, and I'm not saying to like front run or anything or like so that I was like he's only shooting threes. He's a 3-level scorer. He needs to act like it. Now Donovan Mitchell's out, and he's scoring from everywhere here. And then it was very offense oriented game. Both teams scored 40 in the first quarter, and then Utah won the fourth quarter by 8. So they were down going in the fourth, pulled it out. I just want to know what you guys saw as resident Jazz haters from this one, and they pulled this one out. I'll start with Josh.
Don't say I pulled this one out. I mean, the Nuggets missing so many guys.
The Jazz are missing their backcourt.
That is true. That is true. Both these teams are missing a significant part of their teams. Not even gonna include Jamal Murray just because he's done. But they kind of miss. They had to start Paul Millsap and Aaron Gordon this week. Michael Porter Jr. another 50% game. But he looked like a lost animal on defense, so I don't really know how much I can credit him for. I mean, good for Bogdanovic. He has he's been struggling. We've been talking about how he kind of came in as like the 3-level scorer, and he's kind of disappointed, and then he got hurt, so we didn't really get to see his true self. But this was a really good game from him, and if they are able to keep this up, they right back in the mix for me. If they can get somebody that's not named Donovan Mitchell to produce high scoring numbers and be this much of a threat offensively, they're right back in it.
Well, I think the main thing, and they don't need 48 from every night, but they need, I would say Bojangles needs to combine for about 40 a night.
They need just like,
and that's Bojan and that's Joe Ingles together to give them 40 a night. Because because Joe Ingles is going to give you those assists. Like he had 10 and 9 this game, but they need because Mike Conley is going to give you decent points, but he's going to mostly run the floor. Donovan Mitchell's going to give you probably 30, and then Rudy's going to probably give you 10 in good defense because there's not a score. But they need, and then Clark's going to give you inefficient offense off the bench. But they need Bojangles kind of be there to kind of they're both their X factor, I would say. George.
Yeah.
I'll take Denver's side here. They didn't get much off the bench outside of Rivers. Rivers had 18. Besides that, 13 combined off the bench. They only went 9 deep. And then an interesting thing here, I saw a lot of the game. Jokic had 5 fouls, and I remember specifically in the conference finals last year how the Lakers took him out of the game was getting him in foul trouble. So they got him in foul trouble here, and that kind of proved to show. He still did play like 35 minutes, but a lot of the time on the defensive end, he had to play hands up. He couldn't be aggressive because he didn't want to get a 6th foul. So that is a way you can take him out of the game and neutralize him at least a little bit when he's out there. He was still incredible, 24 on 9 of 11. I mean, insanely efficient numbers. So, yeah, that's interesting to see. Gobert did have a nice late game block on a Jokic hook, kind of sealed the game. So going to give flowers to the future 3-time depoy.
How would you rate Gobert's defense on Jokic? Because you watched the game, he was 1 rebound away from a triple double. Like I said, you watched the game. He's playing point guard. He had 13 assists, and
it's like he was 9 for 11.
Jokic could have shot more.
I know,
Jokic's very selective. So I feel like that was a good sign from Gobert.
It was good enough. I mean, he didn't get like ultra cooked, but they neutralized him well enough. But it's like 24 on 11. Which is just crazy efficient for a guy like him.
Well, wouldn't you say that means they made other players besides Jokic beat them?
Which they did. Michael Porter Jr. had 31. So, yeah, they kind of did try that method, and he had 19 shots.
Well, and then you mentioned the lack of bench scoring there, and then Campazzo, 2 for 10. Aaron Gordon only got 9 shots up. And then Paul Millsap played good in the starting lineup.
He really only had 1 more shot than Campazzo and Millsap. So, I mean, if you do look at it from that point of view, yeah, they basically tried to make others to beat them, which is smart. It's a proven tactic in order to slow down this Denver offense.
Josh, do you think this game kind of showed you, and I know it's just 1 game, but that Gobert isn't going to get taken out of the game like we thought it's so easy to before? Or do you think that, a series against like the Mavs where you have like Kleber just standing in the corner, that's where you can get taken out of it. But when a play like Jokic all over the court, you could play Gobert.
Well, that's always been my harp on the Jazz. It's just that you can game plan around him so easily. I'm not talking about just like straight center for center because Gobert won't like necessarily do that. I think, again, the offense with the Nuggets is forcing Jokic to do too much. And even though he's producing these efficient numbers, eventually it's kind of like you kind of have to pick and choose what you would want him to do. And sometimes it's just take 24 on 11 shots, and you kind of have to live with that with him. But the offense, just without Murray and all these guys, forces him to do like way more than he probably should, and kind of takes away his best weapon, which is seeing all sides of the court in the paint. I think that's where he's most dangerous, but now he's forced on the perimeter. I don't think that's really the issue, though. I think the issue is just that you can game plan, like you said, like Dallas with the Klebers and like the stretch bigs, and can completely take Gobert out of his comfort zone. Yeah, don't say the Finney Smiths. But that's always been my big harp on Gobert on defense.
I feel like it'll just be different just because they have more flexible players on defense now. Maybe you can, I don't want to say hide Gobert on defense, but hide him against like a stretch. You can kind of maybe play a zone, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like it might be a little different this year.
Zone. Interesting.
Maybe. But
in a zone, one guy's still in the paint, right?
That could be Rudy, and he could stay in the paint.
Okay, fair.
But I mean, we all know trying to teach George a 1-2-2 zone. You put him on the block, he's not closing out in the corner. I feel like Rudy might be the same way. And you lose on corner threes.
You act like I haven't played zone defenses in my life. What the heck?
I had to write on the whiteboard with a smiley face. Like
we were playing summer league basketball. I didn't want to run a zone.
All right, it's Friday. Let's keep going with the games.
Well, Friday still. Suns beat the Knicks 128-105. This was one of those classic ones where the Suns wake up ready to play. But they didn't take advantage fully until the fourth quarter. Won the fourth quarter by 21 points. Won the game by 25, so it was close there for a while. Randall 24 and 11. Further pushing. We'll get to Sunday's All-NBA resume. But he did shoot only 50%, which is good for Randall, but I don't know. Everyone else, though, R.J. Barrett, 36%, Reggie Bullock, 27%, and Elfrid Payton, 28%. Another good D-Rose game, and then more Taj Gibson minutes, which, what you going to do? But for Phoenix, the main catalyst here was DeAndre Ayton, 26 and 15 against Nerlens Noel. Who wants to take this one?
I'll take this one. Suns offense absolutely exploded on a very top-tier elite Knicks defense. Very, very nice to see there. Yeah, Ayton was incredible, and Nerlens Noel has been really, really great. I mean, he's been putting up. I think I saw a stat. He leads the league in like blocks and steals combined for starting centers. I'm not sure if that's true or not. I might be wrong. I might be just thinking of something completely random. But yeah, Suns shot 44% from three, 47% from the field. That'll get it done. Jay Crowder was very efficient, 50% from three. They got it done on all sides of the ball, holding the Knicks to 105, which, I mean, Knicks aren't some offensive engine. But yeah, very impressive on that elite defense. That was good to see from them.
Josh, before I let you get your own thoughts on this, I have a lot of questions for you. What do you think about Torrey Craig sliding in the starting spot, even that Jay Crowder's out now? And then Torrey Craig basically leapfrogging Frank Kaminsky. Frank Kaminsky getting Dario Saric getting only 5 minutes. I don't think he's been playing too much, and he was kind of like their lunch pill guy to start the season.
Are you asking me or are you asking?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
Okay. I think Torrey Craig and Jay Crowder are kind of interchangeable. I mean, Torrey Craig did a lot for Denver in their playoff run, so I don't really mind him kind of fitting in that role. He's not really as high of a volume scorer or shooter as Jay Crowder, but they kind of do the same things. They don't really need him to be with that star-studded backcourt, but Torrey Craig gives them one thing Dario Saric doesn't, that's defense. So I think that kind of helps them, and I don't really think that, again, they're not too worried about offensive volume because when they want it, they'll get it. Going into the game, the only thing I really noticed beside George reading the stat sheet was just Tom Thibodeau's minutes are finally starting to put a wear on the Knicks. Like RJ's played 40. Okay. I don't think it'll be an issue come playoff time because the adrenaline will fit through it, but it's just one of those games where like they keep it close and then they just start making bad decisions, taking poor shots.
George, mute it.
George, do you want to mute yourself while you're fixing your audio there before you ruin the audio for the rest of the Okay.
Did Philip walk in? What was that?
No, he just took out his thing. But wrapping up my point, I think it's just one of those games where they just ran out of gas. They're making poor decisions toward the end. And the Suns, I would say, not super elite defense, but they just were able to take advantage of the situation. So,
yeah, so just as far as DeAndre Ayton goes, just give him a little bit more praise. He was scoring on Noel like easily, got him fouled out. And then he went to
he abused Noel.
He went to work even more when they tried to put Dodge Gibson on him. So like DeAndre Ayton has proven like he's not like matchup proof. You can't like expect 25 at him. I would put him against Gobert and like Embiid and Jokic and stuff. But he'll take advantage of these. Like Noel's a good starting center. Like he's no scrub. And Ayton went to work on him.
He's right in between that like the average solid center and like the top tier guys. He's like in the tier right between.
And there's not a lot of guys like that.
Yeah, no, he'll take advantage. Like if you leave him alone, like he will go to work. But the Suns don't need him to most of the time. But he did today, and like it's not like a completely unexpected thing. Like he's totally capable of doing it.
George, anything else to add here?
I was trying to find that Noel stat. I couldn't really find it, so I guess just don't listen to me on that. But
if it's true, I think he only averages like 25 minutes a game. Like that'd be insane if he actually does have the most blocks and steals combined.
With the Ayton stuff, yeah, I really like, especially him out the post. We'll get to the Lakers Suns game because they didn't really utilize him there, and I thought they should have more. But yeah, out the post, he's been really nice to see. Playing with a point guard as good as Chris Paul really, really benefits him.
I am going number one.
Did he say that?
He did. He at the end of his Suns presser, they were like, "Do you think that you're gonna go number one in the draft?" He said, "I know I'm going number one." It was funny. It was giggles.
Even with
Ayton, Bagley, and Luka.
Oh, Kings, man, Kings!
And if Chris Paul doesn't go to Phoenix, they start looking even more dumb by the year.
Keep reading it. Ayton, Bagley, Luka, Jaren Jackson, Trae Young. It's even worse. It gets worse the more you look into it.
Oh my gosh. All right, moving on to Saturday. I got to read the other game
40
first.
minute recap.
I was going to hop right into the Wizards-Pacers. Sixers beat the Pistons 118-104. I feel like we haven't talked about the Sixers too much lately, but they beat up on teams. And
well-oiled machine.
Yeah. Grizzlies beat the Raps 109-99. Jazz beat the Rockets 124-116 to sweep the weekend. Warriors beat the Thunder 136-97. And the Blazers beat the Spurs 124-102. Like I said, not going to get a whole lot of Blazers talk, but praise there. They pushed the Spurs further back to that 10 seed, and they might fall out. Who the hell knows? Good games, though. Wizards beat the Pacers 133-132. Bradley Beal 50, and Russell Westbrook history. I know George said he made history here. Did he tie Oscar for triple-double record?
He did tie him. Tied at 181.
So, yeah, Russell Westbrook had 33, 19, and 15, shooting not over 50%, 42%, 3 of 7 from 3, though. This dude's insane. He almost had – we'll do the East recap in a second, like for the playoff picture, but he almost has them at the 8 seed. They're at the 9 seed right now, and they're creeping. They're on a roll. Not a whole lot else to mention from them. 83 points from Westbrook and Beal. So, and then for the Pacers, Sabonis and LeVert, 30, 35 respectively. And then not a whole lot else. George, did you have anything else to add here? Or are we going to just kind of focus on Russell Westbrook going on a tear recently?
I really, really want to find that thing you sent us on Instagram, the Russell Westbrook stats in April or May. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, but I'll just talk about the game a little bit. Sealed it off in the clutch, getting the game-winning free throws and then an incredible block at the buzzer to win the game for them. I mean, he's been everything and more that they could have expected when they made the trade for Russ, and he's been on a tear now that him and Beal are fully healthy. Unfortunately, they're going to lose Beal for a bit, but I mean, they're like 15-4 in their last, or 15-5 in their last 20 games. It's been remarkable to watch them claw out of that dungeon of the 12th seed.
So the month of May, 26 points, 16.5 assists, 16 boards. Josh, what say you?
That's Wilt numbers, man.
What say you, Joshua?
It's genuinely, it's insane. To be fair, I was going to come on here and just I'll be the standard Russ hater. He shoots a lower true shooting percentage than Draymond Green, yada, yada, yada. But, I mean, those are just ballistic numbers. And they're winning games. And I have gone on record multiple times, despite the fact that Russell Westbrook isn't one of my favorite players. If he's getting Bradley Beal to the playoffs, I'm all for it. I mean, they're going to miss Bradley Beal a lot. 50 is no joke. But it's really interesting how Washington has incorporated the 3-guard lineup because of how much of an enforcer Russ is in the paint as well as the perimeter, and it's working. Like, they've been just starting Raul Neto. Like, that's just that's just not a name you should be starting, but it works for Washington. So I mean, good for them. So I mean, yeah, really good game. It'll be very fun to they'll probably play each other in the play-in. We'll see, because it's not too far from the Hornets, but it'll be very interesting to see them play because they abuse each other.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for me to pick between my two favorite kids, the Pacers and the Wizards. But it's looking like I'm probably going to have to, and I will pick the Wizards in that situation just because they're on a roll. Like George said, I think 15-5 last 10. Just to clean up here, George, my other Daniel Gafford guy, does he need to start, or do they just do it next year? Because they're winning games here with Alex Len starting there. Him and Len kind of split minutes, 19-16. What are your thoughts there? Also, Davis Bertans is averaging, I think, the third most minutes on the team. He comes off the bench, plays 34 minutes a night.
They kind of have to play him because he's tied into a really, really bad contract, and they need. And
when you have Russ out there, you got to get shooters around.
You need floor spacers 1,000%. So I mean, even if he's producing or not, he kind of has to be out there. But your question was with Daniel Gafford. I mean, it doesn't really matter if he starts right now. As long as he finishes or gets good enough minutes when it matters, I'm fine with that. But they're tied in with Thomas Bryant, who I do like out there. So they're going to have to decide who they want to start. Thomas Bryant's another
not Alex Len. I'll tell you.
Definitely not Alex Len. No, Alex Len probably won't even be brought back. But yeah, I mean, I would start Gafford, especially next season. Ease Thomas Bryant back in and see what you got. I mean, he's coming off an injury, so you kind of have to see where he is physically and how he responds to his injury. But yeah, I think they have something good going there with their centers.
Fun fact:
yeah,
Thomas Bryant will still be a traffic cone on defense against any solid center.
He's another stretch 5 around Russ, though.
They have a solid 4 for next year, unless Beal finally changes his mind once out. Westbrook, Beal, Rui, and Denny. So, and then they just need that 5 because they can kind of put Denny in that Raul Neto spot where he's an actual forward, but he plays like a guard.
Good thing for them, they don't really need a center because Russell Westbrook will man rebounding duties.
Exactly. And then to wrap this up, I'm just sad because I guess that Robin Lopez 24 bomb against that. I can't remember what contender it was, but it was a fluke.
It might have been against us. I think he beat up Trez one game.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was against. Yeah, I'm sad it was a fluke, but yeah, Robin Lopez just kind of goes
Mickey
there.
Mouse 24.
Back to the mascot.
4 points, 4 boards.
Yeah, back to the mascots it is.
Pretty quick Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, last game we're going to cover here. Nuggets fall to the Nets, 125-119. Lose the weekend, go 0-2. Clippers now, I believe, have a stronghold on that 3 seed. It's anyone's spot. Josh is giggling, so I'm just going to name some stats. KD, 33-11-7, and Jokic, 29-7-6. Josh, what'd you see?
The Nuggets led the whole game, man. It's not fair. It's not fair. And then all of a sudden, Steve Nash was like, all right, let's win the game. And then they won the game. And then they won the game. This game right here is the true and confiant definition of the timely stops. Like the Nuggets got anything they wanted. Anything they wanted for the first 42 minutes of the game. Last 6 minutes, it was a wrecking ball. Michael Porter Jr., another 50%. Game.
I don't know how he doesn't shoot below 50 anymore. He just doesn't.
Good thing we know MPJ is a listener of the podcast.
It's so funny because I was like watching Michael Porter Jr. do it, and then I watched Kevin Durant do it better. It was so funny. I mean,
33 points on 14 shots for Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I know.
He's a myth. He's a myth.
Like it's not fair. He out rebounded Jokic too, which blew my mind. So I mean, like the Nets have like these weird things where it's like, you know, they kind of go on like a little bit of a fluke 3-game loss, and everybody's like, oh, well, we'll see what happens when Harden gets back in if they can't get it together now. And then they do this where it's like, who needs like the super like lockdown 99 chemistry when they have 2 of the best scorers in the decade? So I don't know.
I mean, you haven't even mentioned Blake Griffin. He had 20 in this one, 8 for 10.
I know they have so much offensive
team in the league.
He solidified his role as like the garbage pail guy. Like he brings his lunchbox, you know, all the cliches in the world as far as like the hustle points guy. He's not good at it, but he does sure try to be good at hustling. He's okay, not.
But the backboard though,
isn't he up there in taking charges this year?
He leads league in charges, yeah, and he took a lot of games off.
He finessed the heck out of Detroit, man. That dude was not putting his body on the line like he is now.
No, yeah, but so what, Josh? I'll ask you. What's this? Because they started Kyrie, Joe Harris, KD, and then Bruce Brown and Blake Griffin at center.
Yep.
Is that what's the lineup come playoff time? Because I know me and George went Claxton.
It depends on the rotation or on the team. It genuinely does. And the thing is, they can go wherever they want because just how many guys that they can fit into those roles. I think they just need to play it by depending on the team. Like here, it worked perfectly fine because Jokic is the perimeter guy. Or like the offense, again, we talked about the Nuggets offense forces them to be on the perimeter a lot. So they were like, we don't really need to go. We don't need like the DeAndre Jordan or like the Claxton out there. We can just go Blake Griffin and go all 5 out. And it worked. So
Uncle JG, 15 points here. Another highlight dunk. He Statue of Liberty. It was a beauty.
He must be drinking from the fountain of youth or something. I mean, it's crazy.
I love it.
I'm looking at his picture. He doesn't look a day over 25 here on the NBA Game Time app. I mean,
I think he took that picture before the enlarged heart surgery, man.
Yeah, bro, he had open heart surgery in like 9 years ago. It's crazy.
So we said it in the other Nuggets game. They're still down a lot. Will Barton, Dozier, Morris, they're and Paul Millsap and Aaron Gordon.
It's basically their turn to get the never-ending revolving door of injuries.
They started Campazzo, Rivers, Porter Jr., JaMychal Green, and Nikola Jokic.
Oh my God, that's like.
And they were playing Marcellus Howard. Just kidding, Marcus Howard off the bench.
And the crazy thing about it is they just as long as they have Jokic and Michael Porter Jr. out there, they have a shot to win the game.
Yeah. And I think they're one of those high floors, low ceiling teams just because of that. Because I don't know how much better a Will Barton and Monte Morris can do. I know on defense they can. But Campazzo scored 19, Austin Rivers 12. I mean, like Marcus Howard picked up the slack on the bench with 13. Like,
hold on.
I'm
Let's not forget how important some of these players are to this team.
On defense, yes, 100%. But offense-wise,
offensively, I mean, I guess if you're talking about offensive like floor and ceiling, yeah, but this team becomes a completely different unit when they don't have to force Jokic and Porter Jr. in the tough switch situations on defense.
It's also
Aaron Gordon gives them an efficient 40 minutes defensively.
Yeah, and he'll help checking those. They're gonna have to go through the Clippers, maybe second or no. They'll see Clippers in the conference finals, probably Lakers.
They see Mavs. They say Mavs first round if we start today.
Yeah, that's Aaron Gordon on Luka right there.
That's defense.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of guys. You'll have Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Morris to throw at him to give Luka different looks. And he'll still score 40, but he'll maybe get like upset, get a technical. Oh, he's out for game 3. Who knows? Okay, moving on to Sunday. Let's get down to the housekeeping.
I put my input on that last game.
Well, then what do you want to say?
We're moving on.
Do you want to name the
so excited now?
We're moving on. You never said, George, let me get your thoughts. No, we'll move on.
Do you want to name the stats, George?
No, I just want to say the real scary hours is Kyrie was complaining about their defense, how it was ISO-centric and all that, and how they had issues. 50% shooting from 3 and scored 125. Like, if you integrate Harden in that, it just gets more bananas. So that's the scary hours. That's all I wanted to talk about.
BANA.
Oh, so now all of a sudden it's crazy when Harden gets back. How good this is.
That's a good point, George. I never thought about it like that.
He flip flops.
Josh,
Harden's not going to fit in the offense.
I texted you 2 days ago and I said, wow, they're really missing Harden with their creation on offense. And you just flamed me. Whatever. I gave him his flowers. Move on.
Why are you upset? What do you mean his flowers? He hasn't played in 2 months.
Timeline saying that Harden is their best player.
He is.
I agree. Also,
better than K. Disney.
Do we think that Harden's capping, or will he get a game or 2 under his belt before the season ends? I believe
he's capping.
I think
he's capping. He's going to come back game 1, or maybe later. Maybe later.
Yeah, no, game 1.
Game 1.
Game
okay. Before I move on, George, anything else you want to add?
I'm done.
You're done?
Thank you.
You're acting like a
I just want to say
be careful with what you say.
Is that Harden's going to come back game 1, score 6 points on like horrible shooting? Everyone's, he's washed, he's bad. And he's going to have like 42 the next game.
Are you saying James Harden's going to steal LeBron James' feel out game 1? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
All right. So the Ball brothers linked up. Lonzo got the better. Pelicans beat the Hornets 112-110. Mavs beat the Cavs 124-97. Timberwolves beat the Magic 128-96. Bulls beat the Pistons 108-96. And Kings beat the Thunder 126-98. Thunder, bad weekend, but honestly good weekend. Lottery balls, money. Going into it, Heat beat the Celtics 130-124. This game was on national TV, so I know George woke up nice and early to watch it. By nice and early,
I have some breaking news to report. Anthony Davis is live on Twitch.
Don't ask him about Aaron Rodgers. Don't do it.
40 piece, and then he gets on Twitch. What a guy.
Yeah, so this was an interesting game. Miami showed a lot of offense. Like I said, 130-124. They beat the Celtics. This was a big game as far as playing implications. Now Miami has a whole game up on the playoff on the 6th seed, so they avoid that play-in. Miami almost 60% on offense today, the field goal percentage, and they also hit almost 50% of their threes. What do you guys have to add here? Jimmy at 26, 8, and 11 assists. Evan Fournier, 30 points in the start.
George, do you want to go or do you want me to take it?
You can take this one.
Oh, okay. We'll make sure not to forget about you after we talk about the game.
No problem.
This is a very interesting one just because the two big like narratives that we've been pushing for these teams is one, Miami can't produce enough offense. They win their games defensively. And the second one is that Boston, when they shoot really well, that they win games just because of how productive they are on offense. Obviously no Jaylen Brown, but again, the entire starting lineup beside Kemba Walker shot over 50%. And normally when you see a stat like that, especially with Boston, you would think, they pulled it out. Yeah, Fournier had 30. I think that's the highest he's had with the Celtics this year.
It would seem so.
Yeah. So, I mean, really, really good game, especially from Duncan Robinson. He finally seemed like he was getting the shots that he wanted to go in. But I mean, beside that, it was just a very weird game to watch because the narratives were just being crushed. And it's interesting because, and it throws into like a whole different perspective into the playoffs. It's like, are these teams just going to pull things just out of the magical pocket and start winning games in a different way? So.
What team would you be more scared of in a play-in situation? Or if you're a high-seeded team, Miami or the Celtics?
Miami.
I think I would probably agree with George there. Yeah, Miami. I mean, like, I think Boston's a dark horse for the finals, but I think a lot of it just falls into the unexpectancy. I think teams are fearing Miami more because it seems like they have a very solidified defensive unit, and then we're watching how sometimes they can just explode for 130 on offense.
Well, yeah, so you mentioned Duncan Robinson got the shots he wanted, and then also Tyler Hero led them in scoring with 27 against Minnesota. And then he had a decent shooting percentage for Tyler Hero, 5 for 9.
Jack Harlow came back to play for him this game.
Exactly, yeah. And then one thing this was the first time I've seen the past, since the trade deadline, honestly, a team bullying Boston with their big men. Like Dwayne Dedmon was in there, and he only scored, what was it, 6 points?
6,
well, he's in there. He's shot 100%. He's bullying him. He's getting these boards. It's not fair. And then, bam, good game, 20 points on 5 shots. Only 5 shots. They just kept fouling him. He went 10 for 11 from the free throw line. And fouls happen when you can't control someone. Ask Anthony Davis and Joel Embiid. So, I mean, Boston, they're missing Jaylen Brown, but that won't stop them from getting bullied on the interior. And it's
they had to put Tristan Thompson in because Robert Williams was
he left at halftime.
Yeah.
Negative 13. Injury. You think he was injured? Or you think they just benched him indefinitely?
They said turf toe injury. He didn't return in the second half.
Also, I just want to pat myself on the back. They're finally giving Nesmith minutes. And I really wanted him to start getting minutes. Scored 16 points here in 19 minutes. And he really they had a baby comeback kind of in the fourth quarter there where they got, I think, within single digits or 12 points. And he was kind of the catalyst there. And then they just got blown out again. So pretty good game for Miami here. What do you think? Do you think you guys learned more from Miami or Boston in this one?
I'm going to go with Miami more because obviously they were Boston was without Brown. So you didn't get the full sample size there. But especially with Miami, I think the biggest thing they're going to need to rely on going in the playoffs is their guard play, just the scoring that they can get from guys like Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Hero, Dragic. I feel like that really raises their ceiling.
Don't forget Oladipo still isn't back.
Yeah, if he's healthy, that knee injury was pretty bad if he hasn't returned yet, but their ceiling would be significantly raised if they can get consistent buckets out of these guys. Because I feel like with Jimmy and Bam, sometimes they're a little bit too passive. They're trying to set up the offense a little bit too much, and I feel like they need to score. Like Bam only taking 5 shots while he was 100%. I don't like that a lot, especially because he's their second option right now. But I mean, if they're able to get that out of their guards where they score a lot, then I'm fine with Bam doing what he did.
Well, that's why I think they need guys like Jack Harlow and Duncan Robinson who just get the ball and they're thinking shoot. And Dragic is really good at deciding when to shoot, when to pass because he's a pure point guard. Josh.
I agree with George Miami. I like the point he said about the dependence on the guard play because I mean, Jimmy Butler's great and all, but sometimes you have to wonder, like, if the team doesn't win or if the team doesn't produce average numbers, it's not like there's a reason that there's a split difference between Jimmy and, like, the head top guys.
Moving on to Knicks bouncing back from their Friday loss, beat the Clippers 106-100. Sorry, Jakey. We're going to talk about this one. Kawhi did have 29, and then Rondo had 8 assists. D. Rose, though, led them in scoring with 25, and Randall was absolutely a monster on the boards, 14 of them. Randall 14-14, like I said. Shot bad again, but that's how he goes. And in the clutch, just give the Randall on that left side. He's going to start cashing him. I don't care what his shooting percentage is. Leading up to that, he's going to cash him no matter who's guarding him. Other than that, like I said, D. Rose off the bench, 25 and 32. Reggie Bullock, 46 minutes, 24 points. I just want to know what you guys saw from this one. It was close throughout, Josh.
Am I allowed to take this part of my look ahead, George?
For sure.
Okay, so I mean, again, they just keep playing so many minutes, dude. It's so like, oh my god.
Getting a little worried there?
But if I'm Ty Lue right now, I'm firing Patrick Beverley, and I'm giving DeMarcus Cousins a strict warning. Julius Randle was struggling the whole game, and as soon as they tried to say one thing to him, he started getting buckets. It was crazy. Like, he didn't even shoot good. He shot like 36%. He shot a normal Julius Randle game, but it was even worse. And then they just started talking to him. Straight buckets. RJ Barrett didn't have another good game, but I'm starting to see a pattern with him. Just when he doesn't have good games, he gets it done on other sides or other areas of the court. Most notably, 2 steals. He had a block that was really important for them. I don't know. This team, the Knicks thrive because when they don't shoot well, they do everything else on the court good. And eventually somebody gets their shot rolling, whether it's Quickly, whether it's Randall, whether it's Derrick Rose. Somebody always ends up finding their groove, and that's how they squeak these games out. George, I'll leave the Clippers slander to you because you are
please don't let me do that.
Well,
So,
I'm gonna steal 95% of George's point here. Paul George 8 for 20. So George, anything else to add from the Clippers side besides Paul George 8 for 20?
Well, I'm okay. Where do I go with the slander? No, one thing I didn't like as much, Terrence Mann, DNP coach's decision. I think that's kind of a bad look.
That's
here.
one way to piss George off. If you get George watching Clippers basketball,
also, didn't they just sign Yogi
Mann,
Ferrell and he hasn't played yet?
They don't even need him because guys like Mann and Kennard, who are 2 guards, got DNPs, and I feel like they have enough guard play there that they didn't need Ferrell, but. Yeah, they played Beverly and Rondo a lot more. They didn't close with either of them. They decided to choose offense and go with Bobby Schmurda, Reggie Jackson. But, yeah, I would like to see Mann get in type of these games with the Knicks, especially with, like, a pesky team. But, anyways, yeah.
I have a few things. I did fall asleep for the second, third quarter, so I had to rewind and watch them.
Mickey Mouse nap.
I took mommy to breakfast, and it was really early for me, so I had to come home and nap. But DeMarcus Cousins is trying too hard. He's like, I'm the new guy. I'm gonna get in the opponent's head. And like Josh said, it didn't work. He was doing petty stuff. Like he was like half smirking, like slapping the ball out of Randall's hand, like at the end of the quarter. And like
to work.
And then like Rondo's like over there, like doing his like his stupid face. Like stupid face that Rondo does. I love that face, but it's so goofy.
So mad.
But yeah, I think DeMarcus is trying a little bit too hard in that way.
45 minutes.
I don't know if it's because we keep talking about the versatility the Lakers have, the Nets have, the Bucks have with Giannis at center. The Clippers have just as much versatility, but I don't trust Ty Lue to do it in the correct manner.
They don't use their versatility as much as they should. You're right.
Well, no, they use the versatility, but they don't use they change it differently every game, and they don't have a set game plan. You don't know if they're going to finish the game with Nick Batum at center or if they're going to run Rondo and DeMarcus with their swingmen. They don't know, and that's a really dangerous thing, especially when we don't know how much Ty Lue's really proven himself to coach without LeBron.
Exactly, but I'll give this to you. They're probably like I have them as the second most deep team in the league. You've had them at first.
As the deepest team.
Yeah, so they do have a lot of capable guys, but you are right. There is a lot of times where, sometimes it's Rondo, sometimes it's Batum or Cut. And I do get it's kind of matchup oriented, but you do want to develop some sort of like a formidable foundation of what you want to close with, and then you can start moving out parts for matchups. One last point before we move on, or maybe someone else can add something. RJ Barrett on defense, like switching on to Kawhi and PG. I mean, he was incredible, he's really grown there as a
especially
defender.
Down the stretch.
And
oh my god,
that's all Tibbs. He's been incredible.
All the RJ Barrett praise right now. It's crazy.
just the minutes, man. I mean, Reggie Bullock played 46.
Dude,
46.
I can't wait for them to just throw Reggie Bullock away and get another guy that it's the Luol Deng syndrome.
They're gonna swap him out for another high motor guy.
3-and-D wings.
I don't want to play with you anymore. And they're going to throw Reggie Bullock away. He's going to run away in Detroit like Wayne Ellington is.
They're going to pick up some random guy that has had a mediocre career, and he's going to become a name-worthy name.
The one person that deserves to run suicide for 45 minutes is Alfred Payton. They play him no minutes because D-Rose gets all the point guards.
Whoa. You had a C3PO phase there.
Well, I don't like Alfred Payton. Last thing I'll add, can we stop having Serge Ibaka come to these games? He just sits there in his
He's
drip.
looking like Young Thug with those dresses.
he doesn't care about playing basketball anymore, I don't think. He just comes to promote how rich he is and how much he cares about fashion. And it drives me insane. And I'm not a super hater because I love Steve Ballmer going to the games. I absolutely adore Steve Ballmer.
That's kind of one thing that's just flown under the radar a little bit. Like, he hasn't played in about, 25, 30 games? He's a pretty important piece for them. So that'll be interesting.
He comes back and just rocks.
Are they just going to DNP Boogie when they get their other center Ibaka back?
Actually,
Big Zoo is not getting DNP.
I love Zoo. I love Zoo for what he brings for them. I think it's got to be Boogie. But anyways,
they have Boogie, they have Zubac, and they have Serge Ibaka. And then sometimes Pat Patterson gets a little bit of action. Sometimes
he will not be getting any action.
No Cerritos.
All right, so George, it's Laker time.
Oh no!
The Lakers beat the Suns 123-110.
I'll make it quick.
No, you won't. AD 42 piece after a 36 piece against the Blazers on Friday. Caruso 17. He got the Sportsnet interview because unfortunately it was a national TV game, so AD got the real interview. But Sportsnet still had Caruso.
I heard the AD one.
It blocks him out of my area for some reason. I don't know why. Like if it's on NBA
just watch
TV
it on your computer or something.
I watched on the Sportsnet one because the ESPN won't let me watch it.
Oh, okay.
Any notable? So yeah, Lakers missing Kuzma, LeBron, and Schroeder, and then Phoenix missing. Honestly, really no one. So George, what did you see from this one?
Yeah, the defense on the guards for the Suns, Booker and CP3, it was incredible from the Lakers. Definitely struggled a lot more than what I expected coming into the night. 80, phenomenal. I mean, 2K-like stat line, 42 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 blocks, and 3 steals. That's supposedly a stat I think like Mark Spears tweeted out. First player to ever get 42, 12, 5, 3, and 3, which, I mean, that's just kind of made up at that point. It's like, oh, look, you got all these numbers. No one else has done it. You're the first one to ever do it in Laker history. Still a little bit impressive when you got a guy like Wilt Chamberlain who put up fake stats, in my opinion. But, yeah.
Like Wilt didn't do that? Like they capped?
We have tape of Wilt playing like volleyball games, but not as a 100-point game. Fake performance? I think
it was in the chocolate arena. Like that's not how that
in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Real. It wasn't real.
Anyways, yeah. Offensively, Lakers were great, scoring 123. Their offense has been lackluster as of late. Defense was great, really showed down the stretch. Campaign, I guess, just randomly went off, but yeah, really good win here from the Lakers. I don't know if Phoenix wants to see this team in the first round. If the Lakers get there to 7 out of the play-in, so really good win from the Lakers. We'll see if LeBron plays against the Knicks on Tuesday.
Well, Josh, how does Phoenix match up with the Lakers if they're healthy?
If the Lakers are healthy, I mean, I would say pretty well because the only unicorn is Anthony Davis, and while that's a humongous unicorn, I think they win the guard play by a significant amount, although today kind of did not seem like that. But Mikal Bridges isn't the worst human being to put on LeBron James. LeBron's going to get what he wants, no matter who's really
also
guarding
Torrey
him.
Craig and Jay Crowder, some bodies you can throw out there.
Yeah, and I think, the only unicorn is Anthony Davis, but I think that depending on where Anthony Davis is on the court, they have people that can kind of contain him. Jay Crowder, Torrey Craig perimeter, and DeAndre Ayton isn't no slacker on in the paint. But I think they match up decently well, but I don't think they're the best matchup for the Lakers. So,
George, I'm just going to do we'll bounce just some LA talk here. I'll give us till the 50-minute mark, so a minute and a half.
Hit me with it.
I want Andre Drummond DNP'd. Like, I don't want this guy on the court. He's an absolute waste of space. He's the opposite of a menace to society. He's a locker room. He's a court cancer. He's a good guy. He's not locker room cancer, but he's not a good player.
Oh my God.
AD does not play well with him. I watch these games.
No, Cassie's gonna eat this up.
I don't understand. Every time we take him out and put Marcus on, we go on a run or AD starts doing well. He doesn't fit well with AD, and AD needs to be our best player come playoff time because LeBron won't be too healthy, and 2 likes to be more of a facilitator. So we need AD dropping these 40-point games as much as we can. I don't see, and Frank is doing this too. I mean, Andre Drummond was playing, I think, 30 minutes when he first got here. He's on to 20 here. We've slowly seen his minutes decline. And Marcus Gasol 17 in this one. Trez 14.
Yeah. So I guess you should have a little solace here because he did kind of treat it like a playoff rotation. Mark was the first guy off the bench, first person, not even first center. So you do have to take some solace in that. Drummond was okay defensively, especially early on. Then he, got cooked by Ayton and missed that layup. So, but I don't think you really have to worry about it. We saw him get pulled a lot. He did. He almost did finish, but then Mark came in with like 4 minutes left, and
because the Suns went on a 12-1 run when they put Drummond back in. He doesn't win basketball games.
I think Frank has seen the writing on the wall, so I wouldn't have to worry about that as much. And one last thing before we move on, Wes Matthew has been incredible like all year when he's been in. I know he struggled a lot shooting wise to begin the year, but definitely a guy we're going to be seeing in the playoffs.
Yeah, I better not see Drummond make any cheeky comments to the media because I see him get pulled out after getting cooked and he's like all upset.
He's here to get a ring.
Like, you shut up and you play your role. And your role is to wave a towel. That's what Andre Drummond's role should be. He better not ruin our chemistry. He better, because I know people are already talking, like the players, they're like, I think Marcus has a better chance to win. Well, Frank is putting Mark in now. So, but yeah, that was my little tangent on Drummond. I'm not just saying this because me and Josh said he wouldn't be good when we first signed him. I'm not just trying to pat myself on the back. I wanted him to be good because I think he's a former All-Star. He had a lot of good stats leading up to this, and he's not performing. We need Marcus Gasol to get these minutes, and I'd rather have Trez get these minutes too. That was the recap, George. I hope you wet the whistle because it's time for you to talk a little bit more. Halftime report for 2 reasons. I'm just gonna say the main reason because the other reason doesn't apply. He is the half hooper. And he's also half asleep, so I could add that in there too. George, what
all
is
acceptable definitions of my place on this podcast? Thank you, Lehman. Starting off, Bradley Beal has a mild left hamstring strain. Will be listed day to day, and then Shams followed up. He's going to miss Monday versus Atlanta, uncertain for Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, which are the last games of their season. So I guess you could say indefinitely. Do you have any concern that this might be a little bit of a like wear and tear injury because him and Russ have been like grinding out these W's, and do you think it could linger? I'll start with Lehman because we are the Wizards apologists here. So do you have concern heading into the plan?
Not a whole lot of concern, just because let's say they got 4 games left, 2 in the plan. They got maybe 10 games left in the season, man. Like I'm not too concerned. He can ride this out and rehab in the offseason. But I mean, you make a good point. Wear and tear there. He is kind of like he's on Iron Man because he does miss a few games when he plays. He plays about 40. He's on that Tom Thibodeau regimen. But I mean, I'm not a doctor. I can only be so concerned. But as far as like the Wizards as a whole, keeping their spot in the play-in and maybe moving up to 8, they play Atlanta back-to-back on the road, and then a Cleveland at home, and then probably the game that'll determine who's the 8 or 9 seed is at versus the Hornets on Saturday, the 15th. So that's gonna be a big game. They need to get him back for that. You said he's day to day, right?
Yep.
Then yeah, I'm not worried, but I'm not a doctor. Maybe there's something deeper there. You're the guy that says it's all connected. Is his Achilles okay? Or
well, I mean, it could lead to something like that, but I don't think it would. But it's just you do have to watch out with soft tissue injuries. They could worsen. But I think this kind of does take him out of the scoring title race, which isn't really the biggest issue here. It's about his health. But Josh, you have anything else to add?
No, Lehman hits it on the nose with this one.
All righty. Well, that's quick enough. So we're going to move on to the second topic. All right. So Zion Williamson, fractured left ring finger, sidelined indefinitely. I do want to add something that David Griffin did come out and say that he's been getting mauled and not officiated correctly, and that's the reason he got hurt. Actually, and then there was a clip to come out. The reason he got hurt, he was rebounding a basketball, went over the back of someone, their hands collided, and
we lost him.
Did he freeze you too?
Yeah, but continuing on his point, they clashed hands, so it wasn't anything related to that. I think what the direction George was going to, because he is, I think he's shut
He's
down.
out of commission.
I think it is. Can the Pelicans still make a legitimate competitive race for the play-in because they're only a game and a half back? And if they can't, how does this kind of? I think this is kind of a soothing ending for the Pelicans. A disappointing season that they lose their star player at the end of the year. I think this kind of takes them out of it, just because without Zion, they kind of become lost on offense because so much of the attention is toward him. But any other thoughts?
I mean, I get you kind of have on the nose name their schedule too. At Memphis, at Dallas, at Golden State, and versus the
Oh my
Lakers will be
gosh.
a very, very desperate Lakers team. Trying, I think, to try and get the 6th seed. So yeah, you kind of hit that on the nose. I will kind of tackle the David Griffin thing. David Griffin's always bitching like about something, and he kind of lost
another
everyone's respect.
CPO moment there.
What?
Yeah,
Well,
but it was clear enough. I think. I hope.
So, yeah, as far as David Griffin goes, like he's always saying it's not like I always put up Shaq-like numbers, and Zion's a physical guy, but he's not like getting like hacked all the time. Like I know he's a strong guy, but he's being officiated pretty well, and I think Zion. I really hope this was a Zion quote. Yeah, it was because it was after the Jokic foul. But he got blocked by Jokic in the game-winning shot, and then they were like, "Do you feel like you like deserve those calls because you're always driving?" He's like, "I need to earn those superstar calls. Like if I'm a superstar, I get those." And that's the epitome of Zion. He's a humble kid. So I think he got the right attitude about it. And then David Griffin, he's always whining about something. But I mean, I kind of get he's a physical guy, but he got injured on an over-the-back call. So I mean,
yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to George's last point because he still isn't in here yet. He sent us a thing. It was posted by Dunk on Instagram, not Twitter.
I haven't added to the stream yet. I forgot.
Believe it or not. So there's a 4-picture race. There's Devin Booker, Zion, Luka Doncic, Jayson Tatum, all phenomenal players for their respective clubs. I kind of wanted to go in a different direction. It looks like he got
paused. Did he freeze again?
He did. I think he's just out of it. So I think initially the question was going to be if who would win the MVP first, but I want to take it into a different approach. How likely is each of these candidates? Because I think the order is relatively similar. So I guess we'll just go one by one because he is struggling to get back.
George
in.
Said he got doxxed.
He probably did.
or DDoSed.
So we can say we'll go with Devin Booker first. How likely do you think, just in his situation, can he win an MVP? We'll go like a percentage.
A percentage? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go. It's so that this situation is like in the next 5 years because Chris Paul's getting up there in age, but I don't think he'll win an MVP with Chris Paul on his team.
Yeah, so we'll go 10 years because these guys are all relatively pretty young, I would say.
Okay, I'd go 20%. Nothing's impossible, but there's just a lot of young talent coming into the league.
Yeah, I would go for like 15. Yeah, I would go
15?
like 15%. Yeah, Zion.
Like 80, bro. He's gonna get one of those.
Wow.
And I don't know how soon it'll be. Maybe he'll have to go to a big market, or maybe he'll have to get more help. But the voters already want to vote for Zion. Him and Luka are not fighting uphill battles to win MVP. Yeah, I think next year Zion's gonna do the Luka thing where like they're like, oh, Zion's gonna like a top 4 seed this year. Like Pelicans gonna make some sort of moves. They're gonna pencil Zion in as MVP, so he's gonna just have to make sure he doesn't get it taken away from him in the first place. All right, we have George back. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see if he's better now.
Is he back, George? Are you here? Okay, so it looks like he's here. With Zion, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go lower than you. I'm gonna say 40%, just solely because I think he's in the Pelicans thing, just so they don't lose too much market. I think it'll be kind of hard for him to leave that situation without it being kind of ugly. And I don't exactly have a full destination of where he would go. So just because of the situation he's in, I'm going to lower it a lot. Luka, I think this is like as close to 100 as you can get.
Yeah. And then for the Zion thing, did you take into account injuries? Because he's probably the most injury prone guy on this list. Or are you thinking?
No, but that helps my case a lot. So thank you.
Yeah. Luka, he's as surefire thing. I think he'll get it. And then it does say who, like the initial question, who to win MVP first. My answer is Luka. I think yours was too. I'd probably say he wins it next 2 to 3 years for sure.
That's fair. And Jayson Tatum.
Although I think he's the second best player on this list, it might be a while because the media isn't really enamored with Jayson Tatum ever since he turned 20. When he was 19, they loved him. But I mean, he's putting up very, very good numbers here. And he has no sort of buzz for All NBA, for MVP, like nothing. So I think he's one of the ones fighting an uphill battle. He's kind of like in the situation Booker is, where he's not gonna, but he does have the skill to win MVP. Yeah. So I probably I'll go percentage wise. I just explain myself not a percentage.
Yeah, go for it.
Probably like 35. But I would wish he would win one.
Okay, so I'm gonna go on the higher spectrum. I'm gonna say 85%, just because I think Jayson Tatum is one of those unique players where it's like they have their identity locked down. They just need to tune out the rest of their system. And I think one of these seasons, eventually, he's gonna separate himself from Jaylen Brown and the rest of the franchise, or not, rest of the franchise and the rest of the NBA, and the Celtics will probably sneak like a really good first seed, and then we'll kind of look into like best player. Jayson Tatum improved a lot. Like he'll win one of those like situational MVPs, and I think he gets it. I think he is the second best player in my opinion. Also, he phenomenal talent, and I think he has a very good narrative because he's kind of getting slept on a lot now. And as the seasons progress, a lot of people will kind of look back and be like, "Oh, we didn't notice it. Now we do." So
you think he'll get one of those? Oh, we took him for granted for a little bit. He's putting up these sand numbers. Let's get him in the conversation.
He'll get like one of those like Steve Nash MVPs.
Oh, don't tell George that. He's gonna flip his. George, if you can talk now, I want percentages from you too. For these four guys, we'll start with Booker.
To win, what is this? To win first?
No, to win an MVP in their current situation.
Oh, in general?
In general, yeah.
Like you said, I think it's going to have to wait until CP's off, but I mean, I could give it like 4 or 5 years, but percentage, like a 35 maybe. What did you guys give it?
I gave
you combined
20.
Ours. Lehman said 20,
yeah.
I said 15.
Okay. I think Booker's a fish out of water in this situation. I don't think
I'm a little bit higher because how their team's constructed, they do have a lot of young talent that I like. And if they can stay atop the West, I know, we're kind of banking on it being Chris Paul. But if they do stay atop, once he's gone, I think he could definitely get one.
I mean, a little sneak peek into hot takes. I don't think Devin Booker's number one guy. I think he's a perfect 2. Kind of like Beal. Okay. Who's next? Zion.
Zion? Oh, like 80. It's high for me. I mean, he put up Shaq efficiency this year, and I just hope they put, actual guys that can complement.
The 11th seed.
I know, but I don't like guys like Bledsoe and Adams around them. I don't think it complements the roster. So if they can, get up to a top 4 seed, I think he'll probably have the media narrative. So I think it'll be a lot once they start winning.
Yeah, big if.
Luka's basically the same, high, 80s, 90s. I think it just matters when they start winning.
And Jayson Tatum.
Yeah, he's right behind Zion and Luka in my eyes. 65, 70. I think there's definitely a big what's the word? Why am I blanking?
Noticeable gap.
There's a big gap between the 3 of Zion, Luka, Tatum, and Booker. Unfortunately, Booker's great and all, but I might have to believe Lehman there a little bit. Those guys are like the generational ones, like the guys that can lead, be the number 1 on a championship team for those teams. And then Booker needs like the compliments of a guy like CP around him.
You heard it here first. THHoopers says screw Devin Booker. We don't like Devin Booker.
and Rue. I mean, if they play the Lakers, I might have to unload. But
honestly, Zion hasn't proven he could be a number 1 either. I'll be fair here. I mean, him and Booker kind of in the same boat. Zion 10 times more talented.
So you would have Ingram as the number 1 right now, or you don't think?
No, I don't think that Pelicans team can win. They're the 11th seed.
Give him a stretch 5, and we'll see how it works. But
they gave him Brandon Ingram, who scores 28 a game, and Lonzo Ball is one of the best defensive guards, and they get the 11th seed.
They can't shoot. They can't shoot.
Don't say give him a stretch 5 to make the play-in.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I literally remember the phone call when they extended Steven Adams, and we're like, we want Miles Turner to be there. Perfect stretch 5 for Zion.
You score 28. And you have a guy right next to you that scores 28, and you can't make the play-in.
The rest of the
no one's fault but your own. If you're a number 1 guy, the rest of the
roster can't shoot. No spacing. That's
George, that was a whoop-de-doo complaint, but Jayson Tatum made it to the conference finals with no center actually.
And he'll probably do it again this year.
No center, 6-man rotation.
No center better than Steven Adams center.
6-man rotation. Go ahead. Well, that is
you gave Zion way too many passes there. But we're gonna end it off here with just some hot takes here. not going to go too much longer, but I want to hear
We
from
didn't
John.
thank George for the halftime.
Yeah, we can think. Well, I mean, he kind of didn't really do the halftime.
It was
He
a
kinda-
halftime from the half hooper.
My head hurts. But as your punishment, George, you have to start giving us your hot takes. I know it's a little bit hard for you to give takes that aren't completely and utterly proven, but I would like to hear a prediction from you.
You know what? That guy who tweeted me, I think it was just you on a burner account.
It was a very intelligent tweet. I urge him to give this a listen because I don't know, because I want viewers. But George, give us a hot take.
I'm gonna start out east. I think the Knicks could make the conference finals.
That's good.
They have a favorable matchup against the Hawks, and then they face the Sixers. There's some questions with the Sixers, and who are their coaches. Guys like Toby, Ben Simmons. Can Embiid stay healthy? And I feel like it's kind of a favorable matchup. I don't know why I'm getting laughed at here, but
because your computer was so loud,
noise.
man.
Oh really? I'm sorry. This thing's like 5 years old. It might just explode one day, and then I'm
just
dead.
like that headband of yours, man. Please take it. All right, Josh. What's your? I know George kind of just took yours.
So my hot take was that the Knicks are the only team that can take Philly to 7. I just think that just their durability and because Philly is my favorite to come out the East, despite how much I talk about the Nets and how scary they are. But we'll go in a different direction. So in the first round of the Eastern Conference, I think Trae Young will probably produce the worst offensive performance out of all of them. Some notable names include Chris Middleton and Ben Simmons. I think Middleton will be fine in the first round, and I think Ben Simmons kind of does enough, especially considering the fact he gets to guard either LaMelo Ball or Russell Westbrook or Kemba Walker. So I think he's kind of set. Especially offensively, they might be able to utilize him at the 4. I think Trae Young will foul hunt a lot, and I don't think that'll work with Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks or the refs in the playoffs. In the West, I guess I will go if Will Barton doesn't play in the first round, the Mavs will beat the Nuggets. I think that the Mavs have kind of put it together. They're 8-2 in their last 10. I don't think they have a answer for Luka Doncic, even though as much as I love Aaron Gordon, he's still going to get 40, like Lehman said earlier. And I think that's not a very difficult. I think there'll be more. Well, I'll even expand it. I think there will be more lower seeded teams at the bottom of in the second round for the Western Conference than higher seeded teams.
I was just gonna ask you that. I was gonna say for both.
Well, my hot take is I think there'll only be one upset in the first round of either conference. And I think that's the Lakers one. I think Lakers make it a second round. I think the top 4 seeds in the East will be the top 4 seeds in the East. And then I think we're going to see Utah, the Clippers, and Denver move through. I think Dallas, I said this before, I mean, maybe it's another hot take. I think if Porzingis plays, they don't win the first round matchup. And if he doesn't, they have a better chance. Because
I just miss March Madness. More upsets in the first round. That's what I'll go
and
with.
Then these ones kind of don't go. It's the opposite of going hand in hand. My 2 takes, but yeah, only one upset in the first round of either conference. And also the Utah Jazz making the conference finals, which if the Lakers get the 8th seed, only one of my takes can come true. So, but I have Utah will play probably like Golden State or Memphis or the Spurs, and then. I mean, they'll play the winner of Dallas and Denver, and I just have Utah over both of them.
Question, Lehman.
Yes.
So you would take Bucks over Heat as of right now because that's currently a first round matchup.
Bucks are my finals pick.
We're getting him. We already converted him. Let's go.
I told you if you let me hop on the Bucks bandwagon, I'll let you hop on the Wizards wagon.
Nobody's picking the Nets.
You did. You picked them.
No, I picked Philly.
You may think so. He only now mentioned it, so that way everyone's like, "Oh, he's a Nets guy," so they make it. And then he can pull back clips and be like, "I said the Sixers," but he plays like a Nets guy.
He has 2 picks of 2 top East teams. I see what he's doing here.
He's quartering the market.
My book. My book.
I'm not quartering the market. I'm saying that the only way Nets make the finals is if they don't play the Sixers, and that would require a 7-game series against the New York Knicks.
Word up.
It would require your hot take to go through.
So, actually, I'm just going to give a don't respond, but I forgot to give the playoff updates. It'll take me like a minute. So in the East, Indiana, Washington, and the Hornets are fighting for the 8, 9, and 10 seed and are separated by a game and a half each. Boston has basically locked in the 7 seed. Miami and Atlanta are tied for the 5 and 6 seeds, so Knicks are 1 game ahead of them, so they will probably secure the 4 seed. Knicks will either play Miami or Atlanta. A big difference, if you ask me. Bucks and Brooklyn will continue to go back and forth. The 2 and 3 seeds, they're separated by half a game right now. And Sixers, unless something crazy happens, will be your number 1 seed. So they lock that up, which is very crucial in the East. In the West, Spurs more than likely will be the 10 seed, game and a half ahead of the 11 seed Pelicans, and 2 games back from the Grizzlies at 9. Memphis and the Warriors separated by half a game to determine the 8 and 9 seeds, which is a big deal because you either have to win 1 game or you have to win 2 games. Dallas, Portland, Lakers are all separated by 2 games to settle the 5, 6, and 7 seeds. It's looking like Lakers will probably finish there because of their strength of schedule. Denver and the Clippers are a game from each other to determine the 3 and 4 seeds, which determines who plays the Lakers in the second round series. Utah is 2 games up on the Suns. So have locked up the number 1 seed, although I thought the Suns would get the seed, which is big because they more likely live with the Lakers, Blazers, and Lakers, Blazers, and Mavs in the first round. Anything that caught your eye there?
Nope.
All right, look at it time. George, did you do yours?
I do indeed have mine. Mine is coming on Tuesday. Pretty important game here. Heat Celtics TNT game, 4:30 Pacific. This will decide the tiebreaker between the 2 teams, which is very important. The Heat win, they'll be 3 up, right, Lehman? You said earlier.
Yes.
Yes. 3 up. Celtics win, they'd be within 1. So if the Heat win here, they basically, I think they actually do lock their position in the 6th seed. They won't fall to the play-in. So pretty big game here. I would expect Jaylen Brown to play, not sure, but yeah, definitely should see an intense playoff-like matchup.
Josh.
Future reference won't be here on a Tuesday, so I guess I'll take the big notable game that'll probably get talked about regardless. It'll also be on Tuesday, 7 p.m. TNT, Knicks, Lakers. Anthony Davis, Julius Randle. There's not really too much else to be said about that matchup. So.
2 top 5 defenses, Randle coming back to LA, all that good stuff.
He cooked us the last time we played him.
And he will cook the Lakers again.
If Andre Drummond is on the court, Julius Randle will go to
AD ain't taking the matchup?
AD's getting switched off because Disney needs to put up points on the offensive side.
They're going to run a 5-4 pick and roll with Randle and Noel and put Drummond in the goddamn blender. I'm going to be so upset.
Derrick Rose is going to score so many layups.
My look ahead, Wizards Hawks on national TV, NBA TV. One big game for both teams. Like I said, Hawks and Heat are tied, so they're trying to get as many wins as they can for the playoffs because you want to be in that 4-5 matchup because if you hit that 6 seed or 7 seed or 8 seed, you play you are not making it out of the first round if you were anything but a 4 or 5 matchup or a top 3 seed. And then for the Wizards, Russ is probably going to break Oscar Robinson's all-time record, and I will be very, very, very happy about that. And I won't be able to gloat about it to Josh until Thursday, but I'll do it privately. But yeah, should be a pretty fun game. Point guard battle, all that good stuff. All right. So that's going to do it for tonight's episode. Thanks for watching or listening. And if you haven't subscribed on YouTube or follow us on Instagram and Twitter, it's at THHoopers. Or if you're on YouTube seeing us, just click the red button. I think it's still red. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah, George's Twitter's popping off. Go give him a follow there. If you found him through his Twitter and you're still listening, thank you. Thanks for being an OG. And take care, everyone.